Good morning. Welcome to Relevant News, March 23, 2014. Russian forces move on Crimea Air Base. European monitors head to Ukraine. Russian troops stormed the Belbek Air Base in Crimea Saturday, firing shots and stun grenades and smashing through concrete walls with armored personnel carriers, disarming Ukrainian troops stationed there and taking the base. Commander for talks, Reuters reported. At least one person was injured, according to the Associated Press. The Ukrainian commander of base, Colonel Manchur, confirmed that at least one was injured. He called his men together, they sang the Ukrainian national anthem, and they stood at ease. He then told his men to put their weapons in the base armory. The men who stormed the base didn't wear any insignia, the AP reported. A defense ministry spokesman said on Facebook that they were part of the local militia that had been formed over the past several weeks, but their machine guns and armored carriers appeared to indicate a military connection. Also Saturday, Ukraine's naval base near Sevastopol was vacated after unarmed pro-Russian protesters attempted to force their way in. The Ukrainians had first repelled the protesters with smoke bombs, but then left on their own volition. In Moscow Friday, President Vladimir Putin signed legislation that formally sealed Crimea's annexation, less than a week after a referendum where the residents of the region overwhelmingly voted to join Russia. Ukraine's defense ministry said Friday that Crimea's bases were still formally under Ukrainian control, but most are now occupied by Russian troops and fly Russia's tricolor flag. On Friday, extravagant firework displays were staged in Crimea and Moscow to mark formal unification of the peninsula with Russia, which Kiev and Western leaders have refused to recognize and have answers for with sanctions. Folks, this continues to escalate, and the news is not giving us all the situations that are occurring in the Ukraine. More posturing will be seen. Crews try to contain an oil spill after a collision in Galveston Bay. A barge carrying nearly 1 million gallons of thick, sticky oil collided with a ship in Galveston Bay Saturday, leaking unknown amount of fuel into the popular bird habitat as the peak of the migratory shore bird season was approaching. Booms were brought in to try to contain the spill, which the Coast Guard said was reported around 2:30 p.m. by the captain of a 580-foot ship. Summer Wind Coast Guard Lieutenant Christopher Kidd said the spill hadn't been contained as of 10 p.m. and that collision was still being investigated. The incident was led to a shutdown of the channel for ship trafficking entering and exiting the Gulf of Mexico, a spokesman for Galveston County Official Emergency Management told Reuters. Folks, I'd like to bring your attention to a satellite that has been known about for many, many years, and even the UFO disclosure people really don't pay it the homage that it deserves. This satellite is known to have not had origin from either Russia or the United States and was discovered, but yet is not talked about nearly enough, in my opinion. So here is the blacknight, a purported 13,000-year-old alien satellite. Space junk or extraterrestrial satellite, or blacknight as it is called today, has been around for quite some time. The discovery of the blacknight satellite is perhaps one of the most infamous space objects to orbit our planet. This artificial satellite has caused major media interest since the late 1950s, and it has become one of the most talked about objects in space. First thought to be an Russian spy satellite, the blacknight has gripped the interest of millions worldwide. According to monitoring agencies around the world, the blacknight has been transmitting radio signals for over 50 years. The United States and Russia have shown particular interest in the unidentified space object. Since its discovery, this satellite has interested countries such as Sweden and enthusiasts around the world. One of them, a ham radio operator who apparently had decoded a series of signals received from the UFO satellite and interpreted it as a star chart centered on the Epsilonian Boots star system and that the Black Knight originated from this system 13,000 years ago. The Epsilonian Bootes is a double star in the northern constellation of Bootes and has the traditional name Izar or Pulcherima. The star system can be viewed with an unaided eye at night, but resolving the pair with a small telescope is challenging. An aperture of 76 millimeters or greater is required. According to many, the discovery was made much earlier than we thought. Rumors are that Nikola Tesla, the first man to intercept a signal from this otherworldly satellite in 1899 after building a high-voltage radio device in Colorado Springs. After Tesla's discovery in the next 30 to 50 years, the signal was being intercepted more frequently until it was apparently decoded. Since the 1930s, astronomers worldwide have been reporting strange radio signals which allegedly come from the Black Knight. In 1957, Dr. Luis Carlos of the Communications Ministry in Venezuela photographed it while taking pictures of Sputnik as it passed over Caracas. The strange thing was that unlike Sputnik 1 and 2, the Black Knight satellite orbited Earth from east to west. Sputnik 1 of 2 orbited west to east using Earth's natural rotation to maintain orbit. The story of the Black Knight made its media debut in the 1940s when St. Louis Dispatch and the San Francisco Examiner wrote about the satellite on May 14, 1954. The Time magazine wrote about on the 7th of March in 1960. Here's what they said about it. 3 weeks ago, headlines announced that the U.S. had detected a mysterious dark satellite wheeling overhead in a regular orbit. There was a nervous speculation that it might be a surveillance satellite launched by the Russians, and it brought about the uneasy sensation that the U.S. did not know what was going on over its own head. But last week, the Department of Defense proudly announced that the satellite had been identified. It was a space derelict, the remains of an Air Force Discovery satellite that had gone astray. Read the complete story by visiting the Time magazine website, which is obviously another one of those debunking UFO articles written by Time magazine. That's all for today. Have a good Sunday. Keep your eyes open.